August 6, 1945. The world watched a single detonation erase a city in less than a second. From that moment forward, the official story locked in. We discovered the atom. We split it. We built the bomb. That was year one of the nuclear age, and that date has never been seriously questioned. But the physical evidence doesn't support 1945 as year one. There are 5 documented cases where the data says something different, not theories, not speculation, but measurable anomalies that were logged, studied, and then quietly filed away without a closed conclusion. This is a single investigation. 5 files, 5 gaps, 1 pattern. We're not going to jump between unrelated mysteries, we're going to follow a chain of physical evidence from the oldest anomaly on record to the one happening right now, in active nuclear storage sites across the United States. The oldest gap in this file isn't from 1945. It isn't from ancient history in the way most people think. It's 2 billion years old, and it was discovered not by archaeologists, but by nuclear engineers running a routine quality check on uranium ore. In 1972, analysts at the Pierre Latte enrichment plant in France were processing uranium ore from the Oklo mine in Gabon when they noticed something that shouldn't exist. The ore's U-235 concentration read 0.717%. The universal standard, measured in every uranium deposit on Earth and on the Moon, is 0.720%. That missing fraction wasn't contamination. It was spent. When scientists traced the depletion back to the source, they found 16 separate reactor zones inside the Oklo mine, locations where uranium ore had achieved sustained fission roughly 2 billion years ago, before complex life existed on this planet. What makes this harder to dismiss isn't just that fission occurred, it's how it occurred. The reactors pulsed on and off for an estimated 150,000 years without melting down. Groundwater seeped in, slowed the reaction, heated up, evaporated, and then the reaction paused until more water arrived. The water was both the moderator and the automatic shutoff. That feedback loop, the thing that kept Oklo stable for longer than the dinosaurs existed, took us decades to engineer deliberately into modern reactor designs. And we still lose control of it sometimes. Oklo didn't. For 150,000 years, dirt and water managed what billion-dollar facilities struggle to guarantee today. If a natural process 2 billion years ago solved reactor self-regulation, then what produced the glass scattered across 6,000 square kilometers of Egyptian desert, glass that requires energy levels science still can't pin to a confirmed source? When archaeologists opened Tutankhamun's tomb, they cataloged a carved scarab set into his burial breastplate. The scarab was cut from a pale yellow-green glass found nowhere near any known volcanic site. For decades, nobody asked where the glass came from. When they finally did, the answer didn't close the question, it opened a new one. The glass field covers 6,500 square kilometers. It's 26 to 29 million years old, and it formed when surface sand reached temperatures above 1,600 degrees Celsius. That energy level is consistent with one of 2 things, a large meteor impact or an airburst detonation close enough to the ground to fuse the surface. Inside the glass, researchers found granular zircon, a mineral that only forms under pressures of 30 gigapascals or more. Airbursts don't typically generate ground-level shock waves at that magnitude. That pressure signature points to something that hit or detonated close enough to the surface to compress the ground itself. The problem is there's no crater. An event powerful enough to produce that pressure signature across that surface area should have left a scar visible from orbit. The desert is flat. No confirmed impact structure has been found beneath the glass field, which means the source of the energy that made this glass is still officially undetermined. So we have a pressure signature without a confirmed source. What comes next is a flash without a confirmed owner. A detonation signature that 2 independent sensor systems recorded in 1979, and that the United States government spent 30 years trying to explain away. September 22, 1979. The Vela 6911 satellite was positioned over the South Indian Ocean. Its job was to detect nuclear tests. At 0:53 Universal Time Coordinated, it recorded a double flash, a rapid dimming followed by a sustained bright pulse. That specific sequence is the sensor's signature of a nuclear detonation. It's what the satellite was built to find. The White House convened a scientific panel. Their conclusion: the satellite had been hit by a micrometeoroid. They called it a zoo event, a false reading caused by space debris. The panel acknowledged the double flash pattern but decided the most likely explanation was an equipment malfunction. The case was officially closed. The Naval Research Laboratory didn't agree. Their hydroacoustic monitoring network, underwater sensors designed to detect subsurface and surface explosions, recorded a signal at the exact same time, at the exact same location. That signal was consistent with a surface or near-surface blast. It wasn't satellite noise. It came from the ocean. Two independent detection systems. Two different technologies. One in orbit, one underwater. Both logged the same event at the same coordinate and the same time. The White House panel's report addressed the satellite data. It did not formally address the acoustic data. The omission wasn't accidental, it was documented. Declassified documents released in 2010 confirmed the hydroacoustic signal was real and had been analyzed internally. The debate inside the government was never about whether the sensors worked. It was about who conducted the test, and whether confirming it would create a political problem larger than the gap it would close. The Vela incident shows what happens when sensor data catches something that doesn't fit the official record. The next file shows what happens when the government runs the test itself, with full documentation, and the physics still breaks in a way nobody predicted and nobody has fully explained since. July 9, 1962. The United States detonated a 1.4 megaton warhead at 400 kilometers above the Pacific. The test had a name, Starfish Prime, and a clear purpose. Scientists wanted to measure how nuclear force behaved at high altitude. The models were built. The predictions were filed. Then the detonation happened, and the predictions failed. The blast created an artificial radiation belt around Earth. Pre-test models projected it would dissipate within days. It lasted for years. The energetic electrons trapped in Earth's magnetic field were amplified by a factor the weaponeers hadn't calculated, not slightly off, but off by a factor of 10. That's not a rounding error. That's a fundamental misread of how nuclear force interacts with the magnetosphere. Within months, 1/3 of all operational satellites in low Earth orbit stopped functioning. Telstar 1, the first commercial communications satellite, launched just days before the test, was dead within 6 months. These weren't targets. They were collateral damage from a test that was supposed to be controlled, bounded, and understood. The engineers who ran Starfish Prime admitted, in internal documents, that the magnetosphere's response to nuclear energy was not understood. Which brings us to what those tests left behind. At Hanford in Washington State, tanks built in the 1940s, designed to hold waste for 40 years, are still holding it. Some are leaking into the groundwater. Yucca Mountain, the proposed permanent repository, has been debated, funded, defunded, and stalled for 5 decades. The waste has a hazard life of 10,000 years. Our engineering fixes keep breaking on a 50-year schedule. Oklo contained its own fission byproducts for 2 billion years using nothing but the surrounding rock. No vitrification. No lead lining. No billion-dollar facilities. The geological formation acted as a perfect barrier, migrating waste measured in centimeters over geological time. We can't replicate that performance. We are the most technically advanced nuclear civilization in recorded history, and we are being out-engineered by dirt. 5 files. 5 places where the physical record and the official record don't line up. Oklo ran a self-regulating reactor 2 billion years before we understood fission. The Libyan desert glass carries a pressure signature that no confirmed natural event fully accounts for. The Vela flash was logged by 2 independent systems and officially answered by addressing only one of them. Starfish Prime proved our high-altitude nuclear models were built on incomplete physics. The containment paradox proves we're still solving 10,000-year problems with 40-year infrastructure. Each gap points in the same direction, not toward a single hidden event, but toward a pattern of questions that were documented, reviewed, and then left without a formal answer. The archive isn't incomplete because the evidence was destroyed. It's incomplete because the questions were never officially asked. That's a different problem, and a harder one to close. The archive is frozen. The gaps in it are not. If you want more investigations that follow the evidence rather than the narrative, subscribe and share this with someone who asks the right questions.